Besigye in Uganda. Were Ugandans to go to the polls now, President Museveni will garner 32% of votes, followed by Bobby at 22% and Besigye at 13%. That is what we have also on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Let's see what the Standard is holding for us. Fury as MPs feast on your taxes again. Kenyans are angered by MPs' latest bonus, with each pocketing 2.5 million shillings house allowance backdated for 10 months, each to get 250,000 a month. Remember, still they have the house mortgage at a very fair rate of 3%, and still this is what they're doing. And also the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is not really aware about this, and they say if this is happening, then it is illegal. But that's the reality on the ground. You can follow this story on page 4 of the Standard this morning. And why women should have more children. Find out all these details on page 3 of the Standard today. Feel the earth. According to experts, getting pregnant frequently reduces chances of women developing endometriosis. You can follow this story on page 3 of the Standard this morning. Also, budget puzzle in defense of Waititu. This is all about Sunday politics. Deputy President William Ruto and Kiambu Governor Fanid and Waititu with Father Michael Mungai during Sunday service at All Saints Catholic Church in Komedai Parish in Githunguri, Kiambu County. Ruto defended Waititu on the county budget. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Standard this morning. Also, Ramadan Kareem, the management of Standard Group, says he wishes our Muslim brothers and sisters Ramadan Kareem. That is inside also the Standard as well. Remember, it begins today according to the Kathy. We can give you all the details of this also later in our program this morning. Let's see what the Star is holding for us. This was the weekends. If you missed, this is how it looks. Anxiety in Raila's camp over failed SGR deal. If you missed it, but today's Star looks like this. This is the headline, the headlining story. DCI wants 22 charged over dam scandal. DCI wants 22 charged over dam scandal. That is a splash today. Senior State House official asks Kinoti to delay suspect's arrest. This is a fresh twist. 2 CSs and 3 PSs among those police weren't arraigned over Aror Kimwere dam scam. And this story is tucked away on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. And there is a standalone picture here. Ruto defending Waititu over attacks on expenditure. And it says solidarity. Deputy President William Ruto with Father Michael Mungai, Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu and Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah at All Saints Catholic Church in Githunguri yesterday. Also, inside the Star, bizarre killing. Junior AP pumps 8 bullets into his senior in Maralal. KU Referral Hospital to start admitting patients in August. 650 bed capacity is actually how we have KU as what do I say? KU as holding that particular capacity, that's 650 bed capacity there. You can follow the story on page 11 of the Star. Coast MPs support Juma after outburst against ODM's Sifuna. And this story continues on page 25 of the Star this morning. Let's see also what we have on the front page of the People Daily, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the People Daily this Monday. How Safaricom billions will be shared out is a splash today, and it says 40% Vodacom will earn 29.9 billion shillings, 35% Treasury will earn 26.6 billion shillings in taxes. Also 25% individuals will earn 18.7 billion shillings. The numbers are all broken down here for you. The 240 billion shillings, 96 billion shillings, 75 billion shillings, and 39 billion shillings. The total service revenue grew by 7% to 240.3 billion shillings. Voice service revenue grew by 0.3% to 95.9 billion shillings. And M-Pesa revenue grew by 19.2% to 74.9 billion shillings. Mobile data revenue increased by 6.4% to 38.7 billion shillings. This is a story you need to follow inside the People Daily today. Big Pie, region's most profitable telco posts 63.4 billion shillings profit, remits 26.2 billion shillings to exchequer in dividends and 18.7 billion shillings to institutional and individual investors. This story continues on page 15 of the People Daily this morning. Ruto endorses Speaker Muturi for Embu Governor is a story that you want to follow on page 7 of the People Daily this morning. Also, change of guard expected at KDF as General Mwadede terms expires. This is the news beat on page 2. And 14,000 or 1,450 teacher trainees kicked out of the colleges over law or lower entry grades. This is a story that you want to follow also on page 5 of the People Daily this morning. Let's see also what we do have on the front page of Taifa Leo, and this is your splash today. Raila arejea kwa Moi, Odinga afaulu kumfariji mzee baada ya Ruto kudaiwa kushindwa. This story continues on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Also, Ruto amtetea baba yao kuhusu bajeti tata ya county. That story also on page 2 of the Taifa Leo. You can see a related picture here. This is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, kinara wa upinzani Raila Odinga, mfariji rais mstaafu Daniel Arap Moi nyumbani kwake Kabarak jana. Alimfariji kutokana na kifo cha mwanawe Jonathan Moi aliyezikwa wiki jana. All that inside Taifa Leo. Let's see what the Business Daily is holding for us today, and this is your splash on the front page of the Business Daily. Safaricom owners recoup capital from fat dividends. Cumulative dividends paid exceeded aggregate value of 200 billion shillings at IPO. Safaricom's incremental dividends payouts have returned the entire capital of the company's owners and left them with an additional 101.2 billion shillings, highlighting the enormous returns enjoyed by the telco's long-term investors. And this story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily today. They're all broken down here for you. So Safaricom dividends payout dwarfs market cap of most listed firms from 2014 until now. This is how it has fared, and all this also you can follow it on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Also, anxiety as Watog population at 18-year low is another story. The population of Watogs in Kenya has dropped to a low of 18 years. New data shows, highlighting the plight of the grazers, which are at risk of joining the list of threatened species. Data by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that there were 13,500 Watogs in the country last year, the lowest since 2000. And you can follow this story on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Eco cycling. This was happening in Kilifi. About 100 riders take part in the 63-kilometer second edition in the Sokoke Forest Mountain Bike Challenge at Watamu, Kilifi County on Saturday, organized by Rocha, Kenya, with support from Turtle Bay and Ocean Sports Resort. And you can follow the story also inside the Business Daily this morning. Also, sharp rise in number of workers jailed for theft and fraud. The number of Kenyan workers convicted for employment-related offences rose by 60% last year, coinciding with the tough economic times in which employees' purchasing power was increasingly facing erosion on the back of stagnant wages and rising costs of essential commodities. Data published by the Kenya National Bureau of Standards shows that the number of prisoners convicted for employment-related offences rose to 6,921 last year from 6,636 the previous year. About 185 of the convicts were female, while 6,636 convicts were male. You can follow the rest of the details inside the People Daily, the Business Daily, I should say, today. Also, ARM cement sell to take longer. Administrators of the troubled cement maker have moved to quell investor anxiety, as it remains to be seen if ARM's shareholders, who suffered large losses from the company's stock, will get any cash in the buyout. You can follow that story on page 8 of the Business Daily this morning. Kenya trails regional peers in beer consumption. Taxation and a purge on consumption of illegal brews have hit liquor intakes. or intake as neighbors Uganda and Tanzania take lead in the region. This story continues on page 12 and 13 of the Business Daily today. Cooking gas use rises to 15 billion shillings on logging ban. The extended ban on logging in government forests triggered 42,000 tons increase in cooking gas usage as imports rose to an all-time high of 484 tons, valued at 15 billion shillings. This story continues on page 19 of the Business Daily this morning. We cross borders now to Tanzania and we pick the Citizen. This is your splash today. Banks cash in on forex trade. Recently released financial statements shows a massive increase in profits and from foreign exchange operations during the first quarter of 2019 compared to a similar period in 2018. This story is well fleshed out for you on page 2 of The Citizen. And you can see here also Finance and Planning Minister Philip Mpango telling journalists in Dodoma last month that investigations into operations of Bureau de Change had established that the money shops were being used as agents for money laundering and capital flight. Still on the front page of The Citizen, government moves to control spread of dengue fever. 2 people have been confirmed dead from dengue fever, with another 1,222 diagnosed with the fever in Dar es Salaam, Tanga and Singida regions. And this story continues on page 2 of The Citizen. This is what inspired Mengi's success. It is autobiography, I Can, I Must, I Will, The Spirit of Success. Mengi reveals the source of inspiration in his business undertakings, his late elder brother. This is Elitira. The brother's business acumen was a source of inspiration to Mengi from childhood. Elitira continued to serve as mentor later in Mengi's life, and the story continues inside The Citizen today on page 5. Remember, Dr. Reginald Mengi passed on last week, and his body is expected to arrive today at Julius Nyerere International Airport on an Emirates flight from Dubai. He will be buried on Thursday at his rural home in Machame, Kilimanjaro region. Still in Tanzania, we have the Swahili version of The Citizen, and this is what is holding for us today as a splash. Tozo mpya wanaoegesha magari barabarani yaja. Tozo mpya yaja. You can follow this story on page 2 of Mwananchi. Also, Chadema yaijia juu serikali nyongeza ya mishahara. That story continues on page 4 of the Mwananchi in Tanzania. Mvua na mazingira da. This is how it looks. Wakazi wa Dar es Salaam wakiokota chupa za plastiki zilizokuwa zikielekea kwenye maji eneo la Jangwani kutokana na mvua zilizonyesha jana. This is how it was in Dar es Salaam. Also, hoja nyongeza tozo ya shilingi 50 ya maji kutikisa bunge. You can follow the story also inside the Mwananchi in Tanzania. Let's see what is happening in Uganda. Now that we have seen that there is a new rating or poll showing that still President Yoweri Museveni is high up there, but 30% of Ugandans say Uganda on the right track. This is an opinion poll. Despite investments in infrastructure and other sectors, the survey indicates that most respondents in Kampala, Eastern and Central regions say they are not comfortable with the way the country is being run. This story is tucked away on page 4 of the Daily Monitor, just to show you what it is holding. And they say 60% Ugandans say country is headed in wrong direction. Kampala's, or 6 out of every 10 Ugandans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. An opinion poll conducted by Research World International, RWI, shows the poll was based on interviews that RWI says were carried out among a statistically representative sample based on an official demographic figures between April the 12th and April the 25th across the country. Telemonitor neither commissioned nor funded the poll. RWI will officially release the poll results in Kampala today, so you can follow this story also as I've mentioned, on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor today. Back still on what is on the front page of the Daily Monitor there. Museveni hits out at MPs over salary rise is another story. And South Africa shows on visa applications, heart patients dying due to delayed surgery. That is a story that you want to follow inside the Daily Monitor. And we can see also here an anniversary. President gives 400 million shillings for Orthodox church works. This is Ugandan shillings. And we can see the Archbishop of the Orthodox Church in Uganda, Jonah Luanga, leading the faithful in acknowledging President Museveni during the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the Uganda Hagia Sophia Orthodox Cathedral yesterday. President Museveni laid the foundation stone for the church on Lubya Hill, Namugona, Kampala. This story continues on page 7 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. I don't know if actually I had the New Times for you today, but if you've not also seen that, I'll show you what is on the front page of the East African. This week, this is what is holding for us today. Not again. Are Juba principles bent on blocking peace? That is the abiding question on the front page of the East African. Unto the darkness, South Sudan's leaders differ on forming transitional government by May the 12th, with President Kiir paying former U.S. envoy Michael Ranneberger $3.7 million to block the hybrid court. This is a story that you can follow here on page, where you have the full report on page 4 of the East African this week. Even after the Pope kissing their feet, the principles, it seems, all this particular peace deal in South Sudan is still a holy grail. We have bites here from a hybrid court is a crucial pillar in ensuring justice and peace. I guess this is what Salva Kiir is saying. And Dr. Machar will stay out unless the security provisions are fulfilled. This is all tucked away on page 4 of the East African this week. Also, Kenya now defies down on the Mara dams. Water Minister insists the two projects are part of a joint venture. Kenya and Tanzania have disagreed over a joint plan to build 2 dams on the Mara River amid warnings that the Serengeti Mara ecosystem faces serious threats from increased human activity. Tanzania wants the construction of 2 dams, that is Norera in Kenya and Borenga in Tanzania, halted to protect the Serengeti Mara ecosystem, which is the heartbeat of a multi-million-dollar tourism sector in the region. And this story continues on page 3 of the East African this week. Also, Mengi, a poor boy who built an empire. You can read all his story here, tucked away on page 2 of the East African this week. It says that biggest media mogul of Tanzania dies at 75. And bad eating habits are world's bigger killer. Big food is thwarting research and education campaign. This story continues on page 21 of the East African. Also, Uganda and Kenya in new power deal. Page 31 of the East African is where you can follow this story today. Allow me also to show you also, this week what we have on the front page. Not really on the front page, but this week what we have inside. Where is it? The Nairobi Law Monthly and the Nairobi Business Monthly as well. Sometimes it just seems to disappear on me. It says this folder is empty, but I thought I had all this. It seems it's not here. That's how it acts. It acts sometimes. Well, I'll show you that much later in the course of the program, if I'll manage to get it. All that is inside. Okay, so much happening right now. Okay, let me try and show you from our archives the Daily Nation in 1963, since that is not happening here as far as the Nairobi Law Monthly is concerned. But this is how the Daily Nation looked way back in 1963. They say boiled drinking water. City warned. Right. The city council yesterday warned Nairobi's 270,000 people not to drink water drawn from the city supply after they had boiled it. This was the population then in 1963. Only 270,000 people were in Nairobi, and they were being warned about boiling their water. Still, we can see the threat of cholera is still in the city. What was happening also in the weeks past as far as Nairobi Hospital is concerned. And the city council spokesman said the warning about boiling water had been issued because there was a danger that contaminated water might leak into the empty water mains. He said in any water supply, in any city of the world, there were inevitably leaks or inevitable weeks when the pipes were full. The leak was from the pipes into the surrounding soil. That is how it looked in 1963. So if you're just hearing this morning, this is just from our archives. Also struggled to repair broken pipeline. That was what was on the front page of the Daily Nation in 1963. 185 died in the River Nile. That was way back in 1963 as well. A motor launch jammed with 200 Muslim pilgrims sank swiftly in the Nile River last night. Police said only 15 persons survived. All families drowned in the sluggish, muddy waters. That was way back in 1963 as well. That is how the Daily Nation looked. Page 1, page 2. Mombasa celebrates Eid. Arab Sheikh. That is Arab Sheikhs in flowing bushitis or bushtis with muskats, and that is Harad Mut style turbans on or long white guys on their head and carrying swords. Well, you get the picture. This is how it looked way back in 1963 when Mombasa was celebrating Eid. And now Up Youth go into action. Those are stories. This is history. If you're a history buff, you will love this as well. And all this you can get it from our archives here at Nation Center, courtesy of our Prince Library. KANU bound to win. This is what Kenyatta said, speaking to 3,000 people at KANU meeting at Coronation Stadium in Kitale. I don't know this Coronation Stadium what it is today, but KANU President Jomo Kenyatta said, quote unquote, "I want black and white to live together in harmony, but I have come back to destroy and obliterate imperialists completely." He told the meeting, "We do not want tribalism, but want to build a united Kenya. We will not revenge the white man or Asian. All Europeans must tolerate the wind of change in Kenya. If not, we say goodbye to them." Asked if he was confident of KANU winning the election, Mr. Kenyatta said he was, since the whole of Nairobi and Nyanza and 75% of the western region supported KANU. The Suk, Meru and Masai were also for KANU, he said. And all that was happening way back in 1963. This is the Daily Nation, page 3. Let me see also if I can just pick up page 4, lastly, of the Daily Nation then. KANU leaders' assurance to non-Africans. You can rest assured that you have nothing to fear from KANU government and businesses will be protected. KANU President Jomo Kenyatta told a KANU meeting specially convened for Asians and Europeans at Nakuru. Mr. Kenyatta said that he wished to dispel some of the suspicions which some of our Indian brothers have in their hearts. And he was just assuring them. And this is how it looked then in 1963. That's the Daily Nation. So it's really come from far. And since we are celebrating 60 years, you can see the metamorphosis of how the Daily Nation has actually transformed from today. This is how it looks. Of course, then we had the printing press that was a bit outmoded, but it was a technology of a day by then. This is how it looks. Or this is how it looked then, and this is in 1963. It was only going for 30 cents. And this is how the Daily Nation looks today. So make sure you grab a copy of the Daily Nation this morning. So we shall be discussing this and a raft of other issues as well as far as the county management is concerned. And is the president actually playing on a low card as far as the back and forth is ongoing on politics? Should he ask be answering or getting mired in some of his politics of the counties or the parties as well. We see this happening every other weekend, especially when it comes to ODM and the inter-party politics, and also now this, right? Is it wise for him to just keep quiet sometimes? That's a probing question, but let's see what we have in the highlights for you. President Cyril Ramaphosa says victory is certain for the ruling ANC party in Wednesday's general election. At least 40 killed when Russian plane catches fire mid-air. And Israeli army beefs up forces near Gaza border. But let's begin here at home, where Deputy President William Ruto has downplayed claims of cracks within the ruling Jubilee party. But troubles facing the party became even more apparent as a section of leaders in the opposing camps went bare knuckle, accusing each other of rocking the boat from inside for selfish and personal gain. Listen in.
Zote za Kenya ziko ndani ya Jubilee, kutoka Coast na mpaka Western, mpaka Nyanza, Central, Rift Valley, Northeastern, sehemu zote chama ya Jubilee imetuunganisha. Imetupatia rais, imetupatia wabunge karibu 200 na tuko na serikali.
Still, Deputy President William Ruto has come out to defend Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu against graft claims against him, saying the Kiambu County boss should only be questioned on matters relating to his county and not national government issues. And as that unravels, the Office of the Controller of Budgets now says the Auditor General's findings on Kiambu County's bizarre budget did not feature in the budget that was approved.
Huyu baba yao asiwekewe msalaba ambayo sio yake. Aulizwe ya Kiambu, ile ya national government sisi tuulizwe. Kwa hivyo wewe baba yao usikuwe na wasiwasi, hiyo ya South Sudan former president sisi tutajibu. Wewe pambana na hii ya Kiambu, wewe ujibu hii ya Kiambu hapa.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has said victory was certain for the ruling ANC party in Wednesday's general election despite corruption, high unemployment and widening inequalities marring its 25 years in power. Despite the emergence of a middle class in South Africa, the continent's economic powerhouse, 20% of black households still live in dire poverty compared with only 22.9% of white households, according to the Institute of Race Relations. Now, between 2011 and 2015, 3 million South Africans have fallen into poverty, according to the World Bank. The unemployment rate currently stands at 27%, and the ANC has been dogged by corruption scandals during the tenure of Jacob Zuma's Ramaphosa's predecessor. But in spite of all the shortcomings, Ramaphosa said he was certain the ANC in power since the end of apartheid in 1994 will win the elections. And South Africa's second biggest opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters EFF, has challenged the governance record of the ruling African National Congress and promised a tougher stance on corruption and economic policies to target racial inequality. The EFF, formed by former ANC youth leader Julius Malema in 2013, has built its agenda on highlighting statecraft and championing radical economic reforms. The ANC has avoided such as nationalization and land expropriation without compensation. Malema told cheering supporters in Soweto that the EFF will grow the economy in favor of black Africans and the youth by doubling child grants, offering free university education and nationalizing key industries. Through the ANC or I should say, though the ANC has won each parliamentary election since the transition from apartheid in 1994, recent opinion polls ahead of elections on Wednesday predict that it will lose support to opposition coalitions that have gained ground as the ANC has been dogged by political scandal and a flagging economy. And the Israeli army beefed up its forces near Gaza as cross-border fighting surged. Reuters video showed tanks being carried on trucks towards the border area late at night. Rockets and missiles from Gaza killed 4 civilians in Israel, while Israeli strikes killed 14 Palestinians, most of them militants, according to Gazan officials and the Israeli military. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he ordered the military to continue massive strikes against Gaza's ruling Hamas group and Islamic Jihad in the most serious border clashes since a spate of fighting in November. Israel's military said more than 600 rockets and other projectiles, over 150 of them intercepted by its Iron Dome anti-missile system, have been fired at southern Israeli cities and villages since Friday. It said it attacked more than 260 targets belonging to Gaza militant groups. Gaza officials said Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire killed 22 people, including 10 civilians, since Friday. And at least 40 people on board a Russian Aeroflot passenger plane were killed when the plane caught fire midair and made an emergency landing at Moscow airport on Sunday. Television footage showed the Sukhoi Superjet 100 making an emergency landing at Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport, with much of the rear part of the plane engulfed in flames. Many passengers then escaped via the plane's emergency slides that inflated after the hard landing. Medical workers told the TASS news agency at least 13 people had been killed and that number has risen now to 40. Others remained unaccounted for. Russian news agency saying the plane, which had been flying from Moscow to the northern Russian city of Murmansk before turning back, had been carrying 78 passengers. It was unclear how many crew had been on board. Russian investigators said they had opened an investigation and were looking into whether the pilots had breached air safety rules. The cause of the fire was not immediately known. The Interfax news agency reported that a rescue team was combing through the charred wreckage of the rear of the plane looking for survivors. The Flight Radar 24 tracking service showed that the plane had circled twice over Moscow before making an emergency landing after about 45 minutes. A developing story there. We shall be giving you also details of that much later in the course of the program. This is what is headlining the front page of the Daily Nation today. Ruto under fire over Waititu. This is a blow back of his statement. Leaders criticize the deputy president for defending governor who is facing audit queries on 2.5 billion shillings expenditure. This story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And it's getting messy in Kiambu. Waititu Deputy James Nyoro, who's shown here, says Kiambu members of County Assembly had raised questions about anomalies in the budget, but they were ignored. The 45-day period given by the Senate to the governor to clear the audit queries he has is unnecessary, as it will only buy the governor time to clean up his closets. We want him to step down so that scrutiny is done, says the deputy governor. We can't wait that long. It is getting dirty and messy in Kiambu. And if you missed that particular bite, this is what he says here. We'll just play it for you momentarily, but this is what is on the Daily Nation. In Kiambu budget, there are no issues of retired presidents, nothing about South Sudan or State House. But Bayao should only be asked about Kiambu issues. This is all tucked away on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. A public officer should not appear to defend a suspect, says DP's critics. That is what we have as a flag on top there. But if you missed it, here it is.
Huyu baba yao asiwekewe msalaba ambayo sio yake. Aulizwe ya Kiambu, ile ya national government sisi tuulizwe. Kwa hivyo wewe baba yao usikuwe na wasiwasi, hiyo ya South Sudan former president sisi tutajibu. Wewe pambana na hii ya Kiambu, wewe ujibu hii ya Kiambu hapa.
Right, we want to hear from our panelists this morning. You're watching This Is a Point. Allow me to introduce them to you. We have Dr. Shema Chodo, who is a global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. Also, we have with us Jeremiah Kioni, who is a member of parliament for Ndaragwa. Also, he is the chair of CLC in parliament. We have also with us Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who is the governor of Kisumu. And we have with us also the senator of Nyamira. This is Okongo Omogiri, eagerly waiting to be joined also by Alice Ohome much later, the member of parliament for Kandara, later in the program. Good morning, gentlemen. Morning. Let's just begin with Prof, because I think this is within your remit. And I know many of you are also the chair previously in the Senate of the PIC. Is that so?
Yes.
Right, and of course,
Public Account and Investment. Yeah.
Public Account and Investment. And we had also these governors appearing before you. This is a reverse now that now you're the governor, you appear before the Senate. But this particular headline that we have on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning, do you think the Deputy President is maybe overplaying his hands as far as comments are concerned? Because we've seen also him commenting about ODM's issues as well. Is this in any way taking away or chipping away the credibility of the president when you enroll in, should we call it maybe known issues and not issues that are really concerning you? I do not know.
Well, I don't know whether those issues don't concern him or not. But I do know that Governor Waititu appeared before the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee, that he was discussing the audited accounts of 2016-2017, which really accounts referred more to the previous regime because governors got into office in September 2017,
yes,
when that financial year was over. But I think what is important is really to present the facts to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
Rather than defend or whatever. That doesn't help. The facts should be ventilated before the Public Accounts and Investments Committee because the people of Kiambu want to know what happened to their resources during that financial year. And there are two bodies that can help us bring out the facts, the Auditor General and the Public Accounts and Investments Committee of the Senate. So I think before the Public Accounts and Investments Committee finishes its work in interrogating Waititu,
yes,
I think to me I would be polite enough not to discuss that issue. Whatever was propelling the Deputy President to make comments and defend Waititu, well, it is for him and his people to explain. Yeah.
Right. So do you think in any way, okay, you say you don't want to really delve deeper into it, is there a way that is gaining political expediency from this?
Well, I think you know, he must know that Ferdinand Waititu represents a certain constituency. And if it seems to the public that Waititu is under fire and somebody needs to come to his defense, then he's ready to do so. The political gain in this is that you expect the people who see Waititu as their leader to then come to your support, and thereby you increase your numbers. I think that's a very simple political game. But I was much more interested in the substance of the issues raised in the audit query and the extent to which the Public Investment Accounts Committee and the Auditor General can clear the details and the facts behind the use of resources in this financial year. But I think that the Deputy President, by defending Waititu, there can only be one aim, that here is my friend who is under fire. If I do defend him, then I harvest the numbers behind him.
So you harvest the numbers, but at the expense of what also the public posturing is on matters corruption, because you know now, as everyone knows, there is this ominous cloud about corruption over Ruto. So people are saying, why are you then defending a matter which is still under, so to speak, investigation? Or
that's the point. That's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that matter is still under discussion of the Public Accounts Investments Committee, and the body that did the auditing is the Auditor General, and therefore leave it to the Public Accounts and Investments Committee to interrogate Waititu and to get more information for the Auditor General and come out with a report that can inform us better about what happened. You must understand that the Public Accounts and Investments Committee operates in a very well-defined ground. The responsibility of Public Accounts and Investments Committee is to receive the report of the Auditor General, okay, for a particular financial year, call the governors to respond to these audit queries, and then come out with a report that can explain to the public whether what the Auditor General raised and concluded there were true facts, or whether the county has come up again with some information that can clarify what the Auditor General stated. This is the process. And I do believe that Governor Waititu was appearing before the committee for the first time on that particular issue, and I do believe, as Congo may tell us, that the process is going on. But to jump into the bandwagon and being defending, to me, I think it's a little bit premature. It's premature. Yeah.
But still, Prof, maybe I should hover on this a bit with you. The question will be, no, if this is the first time you're appearing before the Accounts Committee, some of these pertinent issues or some of these items that are actually raised within this particular budget is not really coming from the left side. I wonder if you know you're appearing before this the Accounts Committee, the Public Accounts Committee, then I think you should prepare amply, so that now you're not actually just thrown off a balance with some questions which you say he's not even seen this particular one.
I do believe that you're right. I mean, look, you should be forewarned is for prepared, you see. In other words, the report forewarns you what you're going to discuss and should be prepared and go and answer those questions. I think it's rather unfortunate that you arrive and say, well, I'm really surprised that these issues are here. But then you see, I'm put in a very difficult position, Debal.
Yeah, I know.
Governor Waititu is my colleague in the Council of Governors. And I shouldn't sit in judgment on it.
I know. Yeah. Maybe the senator will help us on this as well, because now they're the custodians of the counties, Congo Mogini on this. This seems like a surprise, you know. It was coming from the left side for Waititu.
I think in terms of assessing how informed the governor is on the affairs of the county of Kiambu, it's a big indictment on him, because when he appeared before the Senate, he looked lost. He didn't even understand how those queries got into the Auditor General's report. So I think I fully agree with you that if you are a CEO of a county, by the time you are appearing before the Senate, you should have the facts around the auditor's report in your fingertips, and you should have adequate explanation on all the issues that have been flagged out by the Auditor General. Because, you know, these are not issues that the Senate committee just picked from the air. These are issues that were captured in the report that was issued by the Auditor General on the financial affairs of the county government of Kiambu. So the governor of Kiambu had ample notice to notice that there were those queries in these audited accounts raised by the Auditor General, and he really ought to have forewarned himself that the Senate committee was going to flag those issues and seek answers. So I think why he let his people down is that he didn't seem to have adequate explanation. He appeared almost lost. I mean, he was saying, I'm shocked like all of you guys, and he was giving excuses that somebody may have tried to fix me. I think by the time he was appearing before the Senate, if I was sitting in his shoes, he ought to have actually had correspondence with the Auditor General and said, look, the report that you have issued relating to my county has these lines, budget lines, which are strange to me. Can you please explain to us how you managed to have these budget lines included in our audited accounts? So I think for Waititu, he didn't perform very well. And I think those are things we really ought not to see from a governor who is fully seized of the financial affairs of his county. But going back to the issue you have raised by the comments by the DP, I think really it's very unfortunate, Debal, that the DP wants to jump into this issue while it is ongoing. Actually, there are serious constitutional officers that are meant to look at these matters afresh. Remember that the directive by the Senate committee is that there should be a special audit for the county government of Kiambu within the next 45 days. Now, if the DP is coming in to provide answers before we get the results of that audit, what does that tell you? I mean, does he know something that we as Kenyans don't know? I mean, if prudence demands that he should sit back, this is not politics. These are constitutional officers. The Auditor General is not a politician. The Auditor General has a constitutional mandate to go to counties, examine the financial books, make findings, release a report to the county, and give a copy to the Senate. So I think if I was an advisor of the DP, I'll urge him not to drag his name into this matter. Let him wait for that process to run its full course. After we have the report, after 45 days, if Governor Waititu is found not to be culpable, then he can step in and say, you see, the Auditor General has now cleared the governor. But now to step in and say, let him address the issues that have been raised in that auditor's report is really unfortunate. And I don't think that's the way our leaders should behave, because finances of Kiambu,
yes,
I don't think they are handled by the DP. That is a matter that is handled by the governor of Kiambu. Right. Now, to make matters worse, Debal, that's my last point on this, is that you have seen the deputy governor of Kiambu,
yes,
has himself raised a number of concerns on the way the finances of Kiambu County are run. I think I also saw in the media that MCS have raised a number of issues on how the finances of Kiambu are run. So these are issues that should be left for the people of Kiambu and the county government of Kiambu to address before the DP can jump in to make his own comments.
Right, so you can see the commentators actually saying here, it's getting messy in Kiambu. We can't wait that, he says that this is the deputy governor. We want him to step down so that scrutiny is done. We can't wait that long. It's getting dirty and messy in Kiambu. If you're not on the same page with your governor, what does it portend about, the welfare of the county? Dr. Shemochodo.
Debal, perhaps if it was me dealing with this matter, I would focus more on the big issues. The big issues in the sense that the deputy governor and the MCS seem to be talking about the prospects of Kiambu County losing out on 10 billion shillings because of not being able to account for 2 billion. But seems like we prefer sensational news. I don't know whether it was 80 million shillings or something, State House, South Sudan, and so on. I'm not saying those are not important, but I think we need to put the priority where it belongs. If 2 billion has been lost in Kiambu County, I think we need an answer. The deputy governor is correctly, and the MCS are saying if there's an issue, let the accountability come out. So to that extent, I think we need always to be getting the priorities right. Because sometimes we chase a little fly while we forget the real big elephant, which is disappearing from public coffers. But having said that, in terms of the DP coming to the defense of Waititu, that seems to be the norm. I've seen when there are problems in Kilifi and so on, the party leaderships come out to defend. This seems to be the practice. But that does not mean I'm saying it's right. It's not right. We should get leadership that's able to stand for what's true, regardless of what, like the North Pole. It's North Pole, regardless of whoever is saying what the North Pole is. But this, again, just shows the quality of leaders that we have, ones that would take a position dependent on who is the subject. So in that regard, in as much as it's normal for leaders to defend people perceived to be on their side, I don't think it's right, unless the DP has got more information, as Senator Mugen is saying, more than we do. But in this particular case, he's right in one respect. When he says when it comes to issues of State House and so on, those are national issues. Leave them to us. Again, maybe there's something he knows that we don't. Maybe there are some irregularities within the national government that seem to be finding their way, but into Kiambu County by explanations. Lastly, there is the issue of copy and paste. It seems certain governments do this. I have seen instances where I find a document talking about Kenya, then at some point I find Ethiopia somewhere. Clearly this was an Ethiopian document that somebody was not careful enough. So I think there have also been talks of Kakamega County appearing in a Kiambu document. So obviously this means that we have leaders that are not careful to the level of detail that's required. It's also got to do with the quality of leaders that we have. But in this particular case, I don't want to pass judgment on Governor Waititu.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
Thank you, Dibal. I don't know. When we want to know how the national government funded some aspects of the budget of Waititu, who are we likely to ask? We will certainly ask the national government. If we want to know how the money for Kiambu was spent, who are we going to ask? We will certainly ask the Kiambu governor. So I actually don't see anything, unless you want to read too much into it, I don't see anything wrong with the statement that was made by the DP. It was just saying what Omogeni has said here, that the national money spent by the national government will need answers from the national government as to how that money was spent, and if it is the case, how that money found its way into the Kiambu budget. That will certainly be asked from the national government. And as the DP said, Waititu will have to deal with the matters of Kiambu. He will have to tell the nation how he spent the budget, or how we had a dubious budget from the Kiambu County. So I see like the DP is getting one ahead of us here by looking like he's coming to the aid of a person who was in his company, but while stating the obvious, that when it comes to these issues, the national government, the national treasury will have to say no money was spent to fund anything towards Southern Sudan through Waititu's accounts, or some money found its way into that budget. That answer will only come from the national government. On how the budget for Kiambu was ended up with that kind, I don't know what he was talking about, the template. I couldn't make up what all that was all about. But it is still Waititu who tell us how he has used or misused the money that was meant for Kiambu. So it's really a statement that is a factual statement, only that we want to read too much into it, just like I think we did with the dams. And now we still are somewhere. I hope we eventually get the root of how much money have we lost in the dams. And Dibar, we had this issue last year, and in the last 2 weeks that we came to this panel, on the issue of the Eurobond. We talked about the amount of money that we have lost as a country, and then eventually the Auditor General comes along and gives us a clean bill of health. And as my neighbor here has said, we are going to lose the big picture again. How is it that the Auditor General gave Waititu a clean bill of health? That's crucial. We have these county governments, virtually all, even the Nairobi one, was also given a clean bill of health. And then we find that there is a secret account. We now see another funding of Southern Sudan Peace Initiative. In a report, a budget that must have been seen by the auditor, or the officers from the auditor's office. That to me is a very crucial thing. Eventually we'll get to, now that a special audit has been ordered, we'll get to know how the money was spent. But we also want to know, how is it that the auditor missed out on these things? How is it that his office missed out? And it has nothing to do with the level of funding. Somebody went and looked at those accounts. And I can tell you, Dibar, if you are sitting in a committee of Parliament,
yes,
and you have the auditor's reports or the budgets or the books that are audited by the auditors in front of you, and you're able to pick such an anomaly, and you've just sat for a few minutes, how would it be that somebody from the Auditor's General office will miss such an anomaly, having been there certainly for weeks on end? Something, we need to get more answers also from the Auditor's General office, because there is something that is, I say this because I know some governors are also trotting the country, sometimes even the globe. Not Professor Nyang'. I see Professor Nyang' on a motorbike here, calling Governor Oparanya. I don't know how far you took him.
Which page is that?
It is there on in this Nation. Is in the Nation.
Daily Nation today.
I think it's there in the Daily Nation.
But
the County News is on page 30. And you can actually see Oparanya is not looking very comfortable with a young in control. But what I was saying as you get...
What are you trying to insinuate here?
I think Jeremiah is being naughty now.
But you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it here.
Yeah, it's there. Even Professor himself is shocked. You can see how wide his mouth is. I can also do this. But what I was saying is that we have governors moving around the country saying, I got a clean bid of health from the Auditor General. Look at it now. 2 governors down the line, and we have very whirling questions.
Interesting.
The Business Daily is also covering the issue of Nairobi. I think on page, it's there, asking questions about some expenditure of secret accounts. It's on page 14. There is again the governor defending illegal secret budget, and he says it's been there since 1996.
Page 14
of the Business Daily.
Yeah, Sonko defending illegal secret budgets.
And again, we also know that the Auditor General didn't seem to have a lot of problem with this, the way money had been spent within Nairobi County. I think those are the big issues, and I agree with Dr. Shemo Shuago. We will concentrate on this statement that was uttered by the DP, and we have gotten again, he sent us the long way. He clearly didn't defend Waititu. He said, Waititu, you'll have to tell the people of Kiambu how you spent your money.
Thank you.
If there's anything for the national government, we will talk about it. We will say that we also did not spend any money in Kiambu on your accounts, and that leaves Waititu squarely on the spot.
Right. When we circle back, we want to hear also from Alice Wahome, just to comment also on some of these reactions that we have from some of the Jubilee MPs as well. We have here, this is, I think, Commander saying, they claim Mr. Ruto's move, or these MPs were claiming Ruto's move to back Mr. Waititu was open disrespect to the head of state who has been steadfast in the war on corruption. Mr. Nyoro said Kiambu MCAs had requests or raised questions about anomalies in the budget, but they were ignored. So if these questions were raised before, it seems this was not really a surprise for Waititu. So he shouldn't... Good question.
By the MCAs and the deputy governor.
Good question. Right. It is 7 on the nose. We want to take a short break right now. When we circle back also, I want to show you what is on the front page of a Standard. MPs are there at it again. And this is what they want you to pay for them. And they will tell us this morning, where is the Standard? Right? They are feasting on your taxes again. And Kenyans are angered by MPs' latest bonus, which or with each pocket or pocketing 2.5 million shillings house allowance backdated for, get this, 10 months. Each to get 250,000 a month. This story continues on page 4 of the Standard, and also this was highlighted in the Saturday Nation as well. So they're here to clarify for us. Remember also they always get a mortgage which has a very low rate of 3%, right? I think that is a good bonus for them as MPs here in the country. No one does get that particular rate. So they will tell us this morning as well as we circle back, beginning with Alice Wahome. You are... It is May the 6th, 2019, and we are continuing with our conversation here about of course, the budget of Kiambu County, and also joining us this morning also is Alice Wahome, Member of Parliament for Kandara. Good morning, good to see you. So we circle back and we promise to hear from you as well, as far as that reaction is from some of the Jubilee members of Parliament, that they're saying, where was it again? So that this is the fight against corruption, and how also they claimed that Mr. Ruto's move to back Waititu was open disrespect to the head of state, who has been steadfast in the war on corruption.
Thank you, Dibar, for having me here. And I had just said that you have pointed a few things, but also want me to dwell into the question of the recent appearance of some additional facilities for members of parliament.
That's later.
Yes, but that's later. But let me say that on the question that I found my colleagues discussing the question of the Kiambu County audit queries. Let me first clarify for Kenyans that an audit query actually is just an audit query. Sometimes the audit query, when followed, can bring results. But in most cases, the auditor would want the specific office or department of government concerned to answer, to possibly clarify or answer to queries regarding their audit or their accounts after audit. I have seen, and I was actually present when the Deputy President made the remarks that have come from Kiambu during the Sunday service. And I want to agree a lot with Jeremiah Kioni that the issues Waititu is being asked to answer through the audit query and also by Senate are very clear, that there are items, there are vote heads that do not belong to the county government. And to that extent, then, they belong somewhere. And when I personally asked about these issues, I understood that normally the county governments, and I'm glad that maybe Professor Nyang is here also, that they get templates that almost, look like the templates of the national government. Mm-hmm. So if you are not, for example, careful, you can easily slot in some vote heads that are not yours. But that is not the end of, that is not the actual budget. Mm-hmm. Kiambu County has a budget. And if there is a budget, that budget speaks to what vote heads that the county government has spent their money on. And that is where the focus and the question regarding these matters should be. And do you know, Dibar, and Kenyans must know, there is no county government can access money to spend without approval of the Office of the Controller of Budget, because they also are guided by the budget you have provided. And if for any reason that there is any money regarding State House, Nairobi, regarding Sudan, that has been spent by Kiambu government, then the Office of the Controller of Budget in this republic has obviously failed. And I think there was already some reaction that no money has been spent. So I think the question is, should we start discussing this matter before maybe we get the details? And what was happening in Kiambu, if you look at the Senate, indeed, and the Senate, my friend Okongo is here. I think the way they went in regard to that subject, they were not even looking for answers from the technical people in Kiambu. In Kiambu. Indeed, there was an attempt by the governor during the appearance in Senate to have his finance executive answer, but you could see concerted effort to block where the answers should actually be coming from. Because really, there are technical people who handle this. Because if Waititu is asked to answer, he can actually give political answers. And I'm not really defending the governor. What I'm saying is, the following day, again, you saw even banners in Kiambu condemning Waititu, and we are sitting here and we are saying all over, we should allow, the Deputy President should not comment, and we should allow investigations to go on. So, there is a lot of doublespeak and dishonesty in this country, that when the Deputy President comments and says, I think the national government has an answer in regard to this question, then it becomes that commander rushes to Kiambu within an hour, and with his team led by Wamushomba, because they are there, I'm reading from the reports, to actually now call Waititu a thief, call the governor of Kiambu a thief, have a demonstration in Kiambu that he's a thief. I think the Senate failed because the governor was in the Senate, and I think they needed to have the correct answers actually given to the country. They had the opportunity to get the proper clarification from even his technical people, but I could see when I saw there was a lot of excitement and prejudicial statements coming from the Senate, and I don't think that is really, I read politics again in this particular matter. But I'm waiting to hear the Auditor General, and as my colleagues have also raised here, how could this have escaped the attention of the Auditor General earlier on? What is happening here? I honestly think there is no money that will be spent in this country on those vote heads. Waititu may be condemned. Right now, the way I'm seeing, he's having to defend himself. But I think people look for this. And you know, Waititu has taken a very strong position in his political statements lately. And I think he could be getting punishment for that because he clearly has given his position. He possibly, you know, and we have had, even ourselves, we have even seen some activities that appear like people are trying to hunt for those people who may have a different political view.
All right, so are you... yes.
Don't miss this. The whole thing is properly summarized by James Baker in the Star.
This is
page. Is it
the Weekend Star?
This Today's Star.
Today's Star. You sure?
The Star, page 2.
Page 2.
Yeah, and it is that write-up or article clearly brings out the issues that should concern us. There is something that is amiss. Mm-hmm. And this has everything to do with the auditor's office.
Let me say this.
Yes.
I think it is premature, and I would like to say that again. It is premature to know whether the auditors, whether the report, whether the report that is before the Senate in terms of audit accounts for Kiambu County is the same report that the auditor submitted. I mean, we don't know because the auditors could not possibly have audited Kiambu County government and include the accounts of the national government. That's just impossible because the process of auditing the accounts, it's a very long process. The auditors come to the county, that's called what is called the entry meeting, where you meet the governor and the relevant officials, and they explain they're going to be doing the auditing, okay? Then there's an exit meeting where they tell you preliminary what's going on. Then they go and write the report and send it to both the counties and the Senate. Now, it is quite possible, and I was chairman, I know this, that when you have audited accounts in 2016, 2017, which is several years ago, and then suddenly you are called that you're going to appear before the Senate, then you ask your people, your finance person and planning person to make sure that they prepare the documents. It is quite possible that by the time those documents were ready for them to go to the Senate, Governor Waititu might not have seen those documents. Yeah. And in a hurry to compile those documents and perhaps to, to deal with some of the issues that, because these civil servants have been there. The governor is new, but they have been there. To try and deal with some issues that they faced when they had the auditor in their place, they begin putting in templates which were not there, and these templates appear there. So the most important thing is to decide what you do. Now, the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee has done a very rational thing. Let us have a special audit. Yes. Special audit means that it's not that audit, but now the Auditor General can come and revisit this issue and make sure that what is going to go before the Senate is the proper document. I think it's a very simple thing. That is with regard to the appearance of national government accounts in that. Yeah. But that is not the end of the story. The rest of the story is that we need to interrogate the rest of the audit, you see. And if you look at the rest of audit that the deputy governor raises, the rest, the rest of the audit, which definitely must be in the hands of MCAs and officials at county level, could tell a different story. So that's why I was saying it's rather premature at this point in time to begin passing judgments as to what is right and what is wrong, because the process of the interrogating that audit account is still on. Yeah.
All right. Let's just finish up on it with the Shem.
Something is, I find worrisome a little bit. I think one of the senators did allude to the fact that some governors may have compromised auditors. That would be a very serious allegation that if there are going to be further investigations, need to be looked into. In fact, she went further to say this seems to have been a practice. Previously, they had Nairobi, apparently 100 million shillings, couldn't be explained, either was used to bribe auditors. I think the aspect of if the watchmen and women, including, of course, the parliamentarians themselves, we've had cases of senators and MPs in certain matters where they appear to have been compromised, then we are doomed as a country. Because these are meant to be the watchmen, as the late Shikuku used to be called. If they themselves cannot turn verdicts that are credible, then where do we turn to as Kenyans? I think this is a serious issue that needs to be looked into.
All right. Okay,
No,
just...
in fact, there is the governor of Nairobi has accused unnamed auditors of demanding 100 million shillings, and he has reported this to the EACC. So there is an issue that needs to be looked into.
Correct.
We have reactions here as well. Salada Malicha is saying that Ruto's Central Kenya point man, Ferdinand Waititu, has made some corrections on the Auditor General's report. He said the money was used for beekeeping in Juja and was mistaken for peacekeeping in Juba.
That's interesting. Beekeeping in Juja.
This was a beekeeping. It was about a beekeeping, maybe a trip over tongue, and people now picked up that. And then we have Abdallah Madamu saying, it's obvious DP to support Baba Yaoko's. Okay, I won't read this because I haven't gone through it, so some of the tweets also there, they're not really. But I wanted just to pick up on an editorial cartoon and move on just to, as we continue with that particular discussion. Before we get granular with the MP's backs as well, there is this editorial cartoon, and maybe Alice, you can also just tell us the state of the party as well. This is what Stano has drawn for us.
Which paper is that?
This is a People Daily today, I think page 10. Yeah, we have, it's there on the table, right? So which one do you don, Alice? I can't see your color there. You're looking very smart this morning, but there's a Tanga fashion, and there's a Kieleweke design, and also Team Komboa Kenya. And Wanjiku is wondering now which one? Whether they will fit or not, how will they solve our miseries? That is what...
Okay.
Which one are you donning? Because
you know the Jubilee as a party. You know, I think Kenya should not get confused by these other outfits. You know, because they are not, first and foremost, they are not official political parties. They are just people's outfits and names that people tend to come up with when they get excited in politics. But when I look at this cartoon, it's like showing that there is Kieleweke. Is it
Kieleweke design?
Kieleweke design now is in yellow.
Yes.
Tanga is in red fashion. Obviously, Jubilee is yellow and red and a bit of black. I don't know, the person in the middle has a Kenyan flag saying there is a problem. It is true. You know, Jubilee is the governing party. And I have previously myself said, and I want to say it again here, that a governing party must be very, very careful about its leadership. And the leadership of Jubilee is His Excellency the President, who is also leading the government. And he you know, whether we like it or not, the party may reflect the confusion or any things that are not clear within the leadership of a party may also impact on how the government is actually going to be led or managed. And for me, therefore, we have decided as Jubilee that we must work together as much as possible, and we must fight outside forces that may want to reflect Jubilee or to show, demonstrate as if Jubilee is not really united. Because this, there is, of course, the succession politics. And the agenda here is to split Jubilee and to weaken Jubilee, which then means going forward, the Jubilee may be weak, but the responsibility of putting the party together so that we don't appear like we have two uniforms lies on the party leadership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Okongo Mogini on this as we're finding love. That editor cartoon, what do you think? I think you should make ODM happy. Let's just
I think,
I
think this just reflects on what we all know, what's happening within Jubilee Party. We know that Jubilee is divided into many camps, the Tanga and the Kielewek. So I think what Alice Ome should be telling us is that Jubilee is no longer standing. Jubilee has crumbled. And I think going forward, they should just accept the fact that they will not move to the next election with the Jubilee intact. And you can even, what is even worrying is the Kenyan at the middle. He's saying, even as they wear all these things, the Kenyan is crying, saying, oh God, help me. He cannot look to God. Jubilee cannot provide answers to the suffering of Kenyans.
No, let
Kenyan
finish.
Yeah, he has finished.
Let him finish.
I mean,
has he finished?
He
hasn't.
No,
He's building his case. No, just a moment.
I think, Kioni is one guy who will never want to hear anything factual coming out in the open about this party called Jubilee.
Yeah,
but this is not my making. This is what is happening to Jubilee. I'm not the one who has created the Jubilee, Tanga, Jubilee, Kieleweke. I think it's because Jubilee as a party itself has failed to live up to the promises that it gave to the Kenyan people. And I think the sooner the leadership in Jubilee, you can even hear Alice Wahome herself, is crying that the leadership in Jubilee should realize that there's something wrong with the party. I think that's what should worry my good friend Jeremiah Kioni, not the comments I'm making. The party is crumbling and you should wake up to that reality.
I'm sitting next.
It was mine,
I think I'm next on the queue, but go ahead.
Yeah, because you see, what is interesting in this cartoon, and I want to help my good friend of Mugani see it, is that in the whole of this arrangement and the Kenyan playing for hope, there is nowhere ODM comes in. It's completely absent. Yani there is no hope at all from ODM. It is only Jubilee that we need to reorganize so that we give this Kenyan hope. That is one thing.
Because you are the government.
Two, and we will still be government, and two, the other thing about this is that the fact that we have some movement within Jubilee should encourage us and Kenyans. When it is too quiet, it is always very dangerous. In Kikuyu, we say, when you find the water is still, be careful. Don't go anywhere near that area because it's deep and the depth that will kill you. And I think, to me, the movements that we have in Jubilee are very, very healthy. It will help us become even a better, stronger party. And we are also able to understand the strengths of each and every of the persons who are playing in it. I get worried when I see ODM completely out of the picture.
Thank you.
And not being factored anywhere. Even in these newspapers that we have, there isn't a single item on ODM. Not a single one. Very dangerous for this country.
What are you trying to insinuate?
You cannot talk of a party that is not actively involved in the leadership of this country, even when in the minority. They're in the minority. We need to have that voice. That voice is gone.
The ball, before you leave that cartoon, I'm sitting next to my good sister, Mheshimiwa Alice Wahome, and actually the skirt is red.
The skirt is red?
Yes. You can be sure about that. So you may not have seen that.
Okay.
But I'm more concerned about the Kenyan in the middle. Kenyans are suffering. For real. I've seen instances when very often some acquaintances say, Mheshimiwa, can you give me just 100 bob? Not that I have it. But I ask, what will 100 bob really do? That shows you the level of desperation that Kenyans have. So sometimes I feel very upset when I see our politicians, political leaders, talk about things that are border on non-issues, while the real suffering of Kenyans, whether it's water or health or food or famine, those are relegated. I think this is the point I'm getting from this. But also, we are living in a very special time. You know, God has done wonders. It's taken what we used to call first force and second force and lumped them together. These are the people, largely, who have kept this country where it is over the years. You remember, I don't know whether it was President Moi or one of the former ministers who said KANU will rule for 100 years. And all the major actors you see at the front, except perhaps Professor Nyong'o here and others, are all KANU. So we really stuck. And I wonder what new ideas they are likely to give Kenyans. And I think this is what the cartoonist is saying. Are we likely to get this green leadership that would inspire Kenyans, give them hope, talk about issues that count, not ones that are stuck in old ways of doing things? Recently, there were appointments of ambassadors, half of them from one community. We are meant to be in an inclusive system. How do you explain it? So it's same old that we have. Kenyans are being taken round, but we are not going anywhere. This is why we are being overtaken. You know, we are told our economy is growing 6.3%, but we can't see it, we can't feel it. People don't have jobs. You talk to people, even ordinary Kenyans doing businesses, they say they're hustling, they're struggling. This struggling nation, we do not need to be struggling. We could be doing much better.
Much better.
Right.
Right. Can I say something? Because I'm the missing person.
Okay, okay.
In this debate. Well.
Or the Jubilee.
About the cartoon. I think it would be unfortunate if this panel, which is very much respected by Kenyans, begin misrepresenting facts. The cartoon is focusing on Jubilee. It is not interested in any other party.
Yes.
Chama cha Wananchi, Chama cha Mashinani, ODM. It's focusing on Jubilee. And the uniforms people are wearing, I mean, that has nothing to do with Isaac Ruto's Chama cha Mashinani. It is Jubilee. That's the fact. Yes. So let's concentrate on that. Let's not bring in other items that satisfy our own political sentiment. That's one fact. The second thing is that I think it's important, really, even those who are here. Let me just say something about the economy. In developing countries, there's something called a jobless growth. It's a phenomenon that has occurred in many countries. You see, if you decide at a particular point that you are going to invest a lot of money in infrastructure, obviously the growth of the GDP is going to be reflected by infrastructure.
Yes.
Largely. But infrastructure can only employ so many people. That means that when infrastructure is bringing its results, i.e. making it possible for you to import and export goods, which the SGR is going to do, you must now think, where are you going to invest so that jobs can be created? And in this country, we are lucky because the history of the country is that soon after independence, there was also investment in grassroots projects like resettlement schemes and so-called education and all that. So there's a lot of growth from that sector. Now, that sector has reached its limit unless it is restructured. Now, the way of restructuring came in the 2010 Constitution, when the 2010 Constitution gave counties responsibility for departments that deal with social welfare, where the rubber touches the ground. And that is where most jobs are created. The national government is investing in infrastructure, but we should now invest in those programs that are in the counties, agriculture, water, health, environment, and so on, because that will create a lot of jobs. Fortunately, counties too have to do with the rural roads. That too, if well invested in, can create a lot of jobs. I think that's a debate we should have. What do we do that in our time we have reached the stage where we have a jobless growth? What do we do to make sure that growth continues but jobs are created?
But the question has always been, are you using the consummate metrics to actually gauge the growth of this country? People argue that the GDP is not the ultimate. We can have also the consumer confidence index. We can have the human development index as well. To actually give the reality on the ground.
No, all these things, this is epiphenomenal arguments. The real phenomenon is that we have to deal with jobless growth. Whether you create more figures and so on. And the real thing is that the real question to be asked, where are we create jobs? Not to begin playing with figures. You know, Marx once said, that philosophers have described the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. All these NGOs are describing the phenomenon in various ways. The point to me is how do you transform jobless growth into a growth that creates jobs? And there's already a framework for it. The framework was in 2010 Constitution, which gave counties responsibilities where jobs can be created. Now, if the national government begin cutting budgets to counties, jobs will not be created in those places.
Deba,
Yeah.
with due respect to the good Professor Governor, I wish you could favor Kenyans and just bring things down to the level where ordinary people like Shem can understand. Obviously, if I have difficulty understanding, you can imagine how much more difficulty the ordinary Kenyan would have. To try and indicate that the economy is healthy at a time when we know Kenyans are suffering. If you can protect me from Professor, because
It was healthy. I was just explaining what's going on.
if he was, I didn't hear him say the economy is not doing well. It could be doing much better. In as much as we've made spendings and investments in infrastructure, obviously there are issues. Probably the only major one we can talk about is SGR1. There were issues in that. Did we get value for money? But more importantly, taking it to the level of an ordinary Kenyan, are we happy the way things are, the way we are going, or are we not? A lot of Kenyans I talk to are very depressed, either with the politics of the day. Can we even just spend the next 2 years focusing on the economy, stupid, rather than moving from these other things that don't really add value? They don't add sufurias, to borrow from, I think, President Moi, to Kenyans, unga to Kenyans, sufurias. Okay. So I think the real issues need really to get more attention than, I don't think we should casually handle them.
Yes.
All right, so we
I think there is, there's a critical issue.
If I jumped you, no, he actually interjected. He's the one who jumped in line.
There's a critical issue. There's a critical issue that has been raised by Prof. And Dibal, when we went devolution way by enacting our constitution in 2010, the hope and aspirations of many Kenyans was that we'll have more resources given to our counties, so that we can have more investments happening in the counties. There can be more job opportunities in our counties. But I'm seeing a case where year in, year out, the government is intent on starving counties of resources. We are having a debate whether we should, in a country where we are talking about a projected revenue of 2.1 trillion, we are engaged in a debate whether we should give counties 335 billion. Are we serious, really? I don't know why we can't borrow from other jurisdictions. Go to South Africa, go to Ethiopia, go to the Philippines, even our neighbors here in Uganda. Really, the government should wake up. And we all go to our county. I was in my county yesterday, and I was surprised somebody raised this issue in an SDA church in Angaza on Saturday. And he was telling me, Senator, can you please ensure that this government realizes that the cry of Kenyans is that more resources should be sent to our counties? Really, we should have a wake-up call, really. In 2013, when President Uhuru Kenyatta took over government, the budget for the intelligence, NSIS, was 13 billion. Now it has increased to 37 billion. While in most of our counties, the increase has been so marginal. So do we really care as a country? Do we want to see improvement in the lives of the people and the majority of the people who reside in our counties? Or we still want to keep this old historical injustice that all resources should remain in Nairobi? I think as a government, really, we need to urge the president to sit back, reflect on this issue, and accept the wish of Kenyan people that more resources need to go to our counties.
Thank you. All right. Is it Alice Ome or it's Jeremiah Kioni?
It's me, because now I have caught up with the lateness. Dibal, I think, I want to take the matter from where my colleague here, Omugeni, has left, that we need more money in the counties. You see, Senate main role is to protect, promote, protect, and actually, ensure and defend the devolution, the counties. But you know, apparently, you know, Senate has been very busy throughout, competing with the National Assembly, looking for work of the National Assembly, the national government issues, which ordinarily should be left to Parliament, which has more than 300 members, 349 members of Parliament. And you see, when we talk about the budget, at the budget stage, if we do not have Senate thinking ahead, because honestly speaking, there must be something that we can do. Senate is perpetually in competition also with the governors. And you know, I'm saying this because today, of course, I'm not sitting in the Senate, so I can be able to say that. They are looking forward to occupying the same seats or to unseat their governor. So don't, you know, when Okongo says here that the government should be the one giving more money, he should be saying it is us, the Parliament, that have failed to put the government to the position of allocating more money. No, let me speak. You see, this government now, you cannot pretend as ODM that you are outside the government, because all signs are very clear that you are operating an outfit that is within the government. So you should now, this particular time, take responsibility and ensure that then this government allocates more money. And that means then we as Parliament should be working together and listening to you ahead of time that this is the money that will be comfortable or that will at least change lives in the counties. And of course, we have issues within the counties, mismanagement, cases of misuse and theft are coming every day from the counties. But that does not mean we stop funding the counties, because theft is a different aspect, but funding is another. And therefore, for me, I want a situation where the Senate, possibly senators should be stopped by law from vying in the next immediate, because you know it doesn't make sense. You don't want your governor to have money. You want to understaff them so that they are not comfortable. No, I'm not misleading. You see, the budget, of course, right now we are fighting as to whether the money should be increased. But you see, they are coming at the tail.
Thank you.
The Senate comes at the tail end instead of effecting these budget changes and interventions.
Thank you.
Early enough. That's what I'm saying.
We'll give you a chance. We haven't heard from Jeremiah Kiuni.
Dibala, I think there's the cut at the corner there, and that's, I think, where Professor picked it.
That cut.
The issue is that how are they going to solve our miseries? And the miseries is what Professor has said, the jobless growth. And last week we talked of economic growth vis-a-vis economic development in this country. And again, there is a need to send more resources to the counties. But there is the big question, and the warning thing is that when you send money to the counties, and it's not the thing that you want to do, but these questions that like Waititu was grappling with at the Senate last week, Sonko also was having difficulties talking about the way we are spending resources devolved. Does not encourage those of us who would want resources down at the county going that way. And I'll tell you the other thing that, and I believe what Professor has said about the 2010 Constitution is really meant to give us another, if I may borrow the word from Waititu, the template, from where you can spring off. Because we are supposed to, we were reorientating our way of doing things. But we still have not taken off, perhaps as we thought we would. If we are still spending all the money that we said to the counties, if we are spending less than 30%, sometimes even less than 20% on development, and all the other resources go towards the current, then when you are told to send more resources down the county, you ask yourself, really, do you want again to send resources to the county for recurrent expenditures, or is there another way that we can ensure that there are developments on the ground? I don't think it is it's a proper thing to do. The counties needs to address the amount of money that they commit to development.
Right, thank you.
And I tell you, we have some very worrying cases, even in my own county, where we have government projects, and what you see every day are officials from the county government going to inspect that government project and wanting to say that they are the ones funding it. to the point of even uprooting signboards and trying to plant in their own. You know, these kind of things don't help you, you know, get encouraged to lobby for more funds to the county. However, the counties will remain our source of another 47 centers of economic growth, where we want employment created to deal with this ballooning joblessness in this country.
All right, I just want also to, I'll be remiss if we don't discuss this. We are remaining with a few minutes right now. And this is what was on the front page of Saturday Nation, and I think also the Standard has picked up on this as well. Saturday Nation had this, you will now pay rent for MPs' homes. It says, despite earning hefty salaries and allowances with a 20 million mortgage to boot, lawmakers have defied both the Treasury and Salaries and Remuneration Commission to award themselves $250,000 each of their house every month. And this is backdated 10 months. This story continues on page 4 of the Saturday Nation. The Standard has picked up this today, and it is headlined with this particular story as well. Fury as MPs feast on your taxes again. Fury as MPs feast on your taxes. Kenyans angered by MPs' latest bonus, with each pocketing 2.5 million shillings allowance backdated for 10 months. Each get 250,000 shillings a month. This story also is tacked on page 4 of the Standard this morning. So we just want to get perspective on this, Jeremiah Kioni. First of all, 250,000, and you have maybe a mortgage that you're servicing at a very fair rate of 3%, you know, annually.
You know, when I see...
What is happening?
How much is the money? 2.5 million?
This is 250,000.
No,
2.5 million house allowance, backdated for 10 months, of course.
I need to see my payslip. I haven't seen that kind of... I mean, some of these things are really...
What do you mean it's not true?
You read it and don't know what to say. Because, actually, I don't know. That's others comment about it.
No, when it comes to this, you know, this is where I am always in trouble. When we have this sort of headlines, none of you want to comment. Then you say, oh, this has not been auctioned. This is coming.
The viewers.
No, I'm not inciting. I just want to get clarification.
Because I think the point at which Kioni feels defeated is because we are seated here, we don't have 2.5 million in our pay slips. So we don't know where the writers or whoever, where the source of this information comes from.
Could we just go maybe to page 4? No, just a moment. Let's go to page 4 of, I think you have a Saturday Nation.
Let me go on.
Go on as I try and get meat for this as well.
You know, because you are still looking from the papers, and we are telling you, we are talking from our pay slips. There is nothing like 2.5 million. What in this country, every worker that is a public officer or a public servant earns some form of house allowance, DBAR. Let me just start from there. It doesn't matter the job group. There is an item called house allowance. The members of parliament have always worked without a house allowance. That's a fact. And you are now bringing in the question of mortgage. You have a facility for a mortgage of maybe 20 million. I think that is the current amount. But you have to, if you take a mortgage, you still have to repay the mortgage. If you take a mortgage today, DBAR, from the nation here, assisted by the nation and any bank, because you are working, you will report, you are on permanent and pensionable. You are likely to get 20 years or 15. But a member of parliament who takes a mortgage must repay the mortgage within 5 years. And I hope that is clear, because the guarantee and surety is, I don't know how that was arranged. It's not the property that you want to buy. It's actually your salary. And so that is even also another issue. So you have to pay within 5 years. So this matter went to court. And I know Kenyans don't want to hear any monies going to MPs, and they are right, because many of them, Kenyans, we are going hungry, they are going hungry, they are sleeping hungry, there is no food on the table. But they also must remember that the member of parliament is their employee and their representative. And while there are very many forces that want to weaken and undermine and obviously bring to contempt the House of Parliament and the legislators. The Kenyans who we represent need to see and reflect this on themselves, because once your employee is undermined, then obviously even yourself you're undermined. So yes, there is a house allowance of 250, which is subjected to the normal 31 or 32% of taxation. So it remains something like 100, I think 170,000.
Thank you.
And there is no arrears. The matter was in court, and the court, the High Court, the High Court agreed that SRC should determine matters regarding salary item, but not house allowance and not any vehicle that I may be given by my employer, which is Parliament, to actually facilitate me to work. So therefore, I just want to simply say that we don't have that kind of
Okongo Mogeni, here it says that members of the National Assembly and the Senate have secretly pocketed 1 billion shillings in house allowance. They bulldozed through despite opposition from the Treasury and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And just also maybe just trolling down there, we have yesterday, that was maybe on Friday, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi defending the new allowances, saying lawmakers, just like other state officers, were entitled to such benefits. Defending the new allowances. Jeremiah Kioni is saying he's not seen anything like that in actually the payslip. But we have also the speaker defending this as well. Or Congo Mogini, we'll come to you, Shabuto.
I think first, yes, first I think Debal, before I...
Did I jump you? Did I jump?
Yes, you did.
I did? Yes. Oh, okay.
I think
can I
let me just finish. Let him finish.
Yes, please. Yeah, I think, Debal, first, before I comment on this issue of salaries, I'm employed by the people of Nyamira as their senator, and you should not allow some misleading facts to remain on record. What my colleague Alice Wahome said. As the Senate, you can't tell us that we are coming at the tail end. Together with the CRA, Senate has recommended that counties should be given 335 billion. The people who don't want these resources to go to counties are the MPs. They are the ones who are pushing that counties should be given 310 billion. That's why, Debal, we have a stalemate. That's why we are moving into mediation between the senators and the members of Parliament. So you should not purport to create a picture to the Kenyans that we are sleeping on our jobs. We are doing what we are supposed to do. And finally, when you hear people say that resources that are sent to counties are stolen, just read what is in the Star. The DCI is saying that it's going to charge 2 cabinet secretaries over the loss of 21 billion. That is budget for about 4 counties in this country that is being stolen by just 2 ministries. So if you want to argue that people who engage in swindling public resources should not be given resources, then start with the national government, because that's where massive theft is taking place. That argument cannot sell. Then going back to the issue of salaries, we should help you, Debal, on some of these things. When I vied for this position of Senate, I've never sat down with anybody to negotiate what I'm supposed to earn. So when you say that MPs are pushing this down the throat of I don't know who, I went into Parliament. The first week, I was told I've been given an office as a senator. So I invited about 8 church guys who are in Nairobi to come and see me. When I went to my office at Red Cross, I found it was a small cube, the size of a toilet, which is occupied by a CS, by a cabinet secretary. So these guys were waiting on the corridors. And when I went to ask, I was told, you don't ask what your benefits are. The office you get and the key, that is what you get. You cannot tell us you need an office to attend to your people. What am I saying? That at times when you write about these headlines, you don't know the kind of suffering we, as the people's representatives, are subjected to. So when you start telling us that we are pushing to pay ourselves packs, I've never, and I'm saying this on media here, I've never sat with anybody, Debal, to negotiate with salaries, and those commissioners can come here.
Thank you.
So are you blocking me out, or you want me to answer?
No. So you're actually winding up, because we really start for time.
So the point I'm making, Debal, is that these headlines does not help this country. These things you are writing about 2.2 million. I can tell you for a fact, and call me here again if I'm lying. Nobody has been paid this money, 2.25 million.
Thank you. Shem.
For me, the bigger problem is the deep state, as some people call it, state capture. But before that, a viewer in Canada, Silas Kibwana, a constituent of Professor, is saying there is a water project near Chemelil. He was keen to work with the county government to make sure it's done. And as diaspora, they're even willing to support some of the things we do.
Shem,
and this could even extend to the
just go straight
standard
to
gauge.
what, yeah.
But coming to the aspect of the deep state, the state capture, I'm very concerned that there seem to be negotiations that go on between the executive and the National Assembly and parliaments generally. Why do I say this? Why would anybody even talk about reducing 9 billion shillings that's meant to go to the counties? I think we agreed on this panel that the counties need more. I don't think any one of us dispute that fact. But why do we allow it, particularly the National Assembly? Because we are the ones, we are the custodians. It's not the executive. Could it be that the executive is saying, let's give you allowance, let's give you this, so that you allow us to do this? It even goes further. I also was reading 1.5 billion is supposed to go to take care of former leaders, vice presidents, and so on. And I'm asking, this 3, 5, 6, 7 billion that we are using for parliament and former leaders and so on, would we not use this to uplift the well-being of the Kenyan people? So the state capture is real and a problem.
Thank you. Lastly, let's hear from Professor Anyang' Nyong'o as a warning.
I would like to refer you to Article 230 of the Constitution, 234, which says the powers and functions of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission shall, not will, or can, shall be to A, set and regularly review the remuneration and benefits of all state officers, which includes us, and B, advise the national county governments on the remuneration and benefits of all other public officers. So, the thing should be at the desk of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. I believe that Parliament can only propose, but the final decision is made by Salaries and Remuneration Commission. I'll give you an example. Recently, when we had a problem with nurses, and we governors had, the previous year had kind of a return to work agreement with nurses that we got certain benefits. Some governors went ahead and paid it. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission sent us a stern letter. If you have paid it, take it back, because it was not authorized by SRC. So I think we are engaged in an argument that the SRC should sort out. If indeed it is true that some proposals have been made, is the Salaries Remuneration and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission going to agree to it or not? We haven't heard from the SRC. When we hear from the SRC, we shall know whether what is being said here is a fact or fiction.
Right. And of course, the SRC says they're not really aware about this
so,
as well.
So SRC will decide, because in our case, they made it very clear that we could not do that.
Right.
So I hope that law is applied evenly in all institutions, that the Constitution expects the SRC to determine their remunerations and benefits.
Right, thank you. Okay, we are strapped for time. I want to give you time to actually give your closing remarks as well this morning. But nonetheless, thank you for your contribution this morning. I shall just read one or two tweets as we're winding up. We have Samuel Ruto saying that in Kenyan politics, in every coming new electoral term, our leaders approach it in new outfits. The days of Jubilee are over and the formation of new parties are in order. But DP Ruto is still in an old outfit. That is Jubilee. That is Samuel Ruto there. And finally, also, we have... let me try and see... well, I've lost it. All right? So I don't have time to actually ram it through it. But nonetheless, I want to thank you, Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, also Kongo Mogeni Alice Wahome, and also Shemo Chodho, thank you for coming through, and Jeremiah Kioni, thank you. And Alice, on Tuesday we normally let people kneel if they come late. Yeah, so especially on Tuesday. So next Monday when you're late, you know where the place. That is So
I come fully dressed.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your contribution this morning. You'll be watching This Is The Point. My name is Dibala Nea. Living With Us is up next.